To our professor, Dr. Mildrito B. Valles, to my fellow educators, a pleasant morning to each and every one of us. My name is Nino Carlo V. Manyosa, and I am to discuss Chapter 13 of Sociological Foundation of Education, which is the Human Relations and Leadership. Human relations and leadership has something to do with the groups of people and how they interact with one another. As long as people live in groups, they have to maintain some kind of relationships to enable them to carry on their daily activities cooperatively, peacefully, and according to schedule. Accordingly, they have to have good human relations and some to be leaders to lead the groups in the accomplishment of their ends. Human relation and leadership are fundamentally intertwined concepts essential for organizational success and effective management. To continue further with my discussion, let us first define human relations. What is human relations? Human relation refers to the interaction and cooperation among people in an organizational or group settings. It is the study and practice of creating a productive and positive work environment by acknowledging employees as unique individuals with complex needs. Okay? The basis of good human relations is good character. One must possess important and divine values as well as socially accepted human values to enable him to live well with others. Now the question is, how are we going to have and maintain good human relations? So here comes the 10 commandments of human relations as formulated by the National Production Center. Number 1, we must speak graciously to people. So why do we need this? We need to speak graciously to people because this implies respect and empathy, making the other person feel valued and heard. Okay? So there is nothing nice as a cheerful word of greeting. So we must do it more often. Number 2, of course, we need to smile at people. So smiling at people is not just an ordinary facial expression. It is a social tool with a significant psychological and physiological effect. That is why it takes 65 muscles to frown, only 15 to smile. That is why if a person is encounters so many problems, he tends to look older than those who keep on smiling. That is why it is very much important that we should always keep in mind, and we should always look for the positive side of each situation that we are into. Number 3, we are about to call people by their first name. Okay? It is fundamental act of respect also and connection. That is why when we are called by our name or the other way, it implies connection to someone. Okay? The sweetest music to anyone's ear is the sound of his name. Number 4, be friendly and helpful. Being friendly and helpful is a style of interaction focused on warmth, accessibility, and genuine desire to assist others. That is why if we have a lot of friends, it is very much important that we are always open to lend a helping hand. Number 5, be cordial, especially when it is in professional, public, and formal settings. Speak and act as if everything that you do is of a genuine desire. So, yon, number 6. Number 6, be genuinely interested in people. So it is fundamental mindset of curiosity and respect that dramatically improves your relationship and interaction. So you can like people if you try. Number 7, we have be generous with praise and be cautious with criticism. It may be also safe not to say anything that might offend someone. Okay? You make friends with praise. Always remember that you make friends with phrases or praise, and you make enemies when you make criticism, especially to those who does not open or are not open to accept criticisms, even though if it is for positive reinforcement. Okay, number 8, be considerate of the feelings of others. It means practicing empathy and consciously adjusting your words and actions to avoid causing unnecessary distress, discomfort, and offense. This means that uh, this will imply that someone or it will be appreciated. Number 9, be thoughtful of the opinion of others. This means that you are recognizing every person's viewpoint, because every person's viewpoint is unique in their own experiences, values, and knowledge. Okay? Every other person's viewpoint is different from the other. So there's no viewpoint of the same person or the same idea. Number 10, be alert to give service. It's about being proactive, observant, and responsive in any role that you involves serving or assisting people. So, let us now move on to short course in human relations. So, there are there are six short courses in human relation designed by the same center. These are as follows: 6 most important words. These are: I admit I made a mistake. So what this word suggests, okay, these words promotes humility among others. Next is 5 most important words, which is you did a good job. This word serves as positive reinforcement which elicit motivation. The more uh, you are being tapped on your shoulder, the more you feel someone is praising you or praising you, the more motivated you get. Isn't it right? Okay, number 4 is the 4 most important words. These are: what is your opinion? Okay? This expresses belongingness and inclusivity. Okay? By simply asking someone's opinion, this encourages them uh, to be more participative, to be more cooperative in a group settings. Then 3 most important word is if you please. So this be to be courteous in making requests, and of course by giving instructions. Then the next one is the 2 most important words, which is thank you. Okay, by saying thank you, it's a measure of someone's appreciation of all the blessings. The more you say thank you, the more you expresses your gratefulness, the more you expresses your your ability to appreciate the blessings that you have or the blessings that someone has. Okay, then the least important word is the word I. Why? Because it is the least of all concern. The least of all concern is yourself in order to maintain good relations. Okay? In addition to the technique of human relation mentioned above, the following are suggested to maintain good relationship. So in order to maintain a good relationship, the center also suggested the following. Number one, give compliment and praises freely. Okay? Give compliments and praises freely. Always give compliments or praises to deserving people whenever occasion for such arise. Be fair always. Alright, practice fairness at all times. Treat everyone as you would want to be treated by others. Just like the golden rule of Confucius, it says that do not do unto others what you don't want others do unto you. If you want to be treated fairly, then you need to treat others fair too. Okay. Number three, keep secrets. Okay, keep secrets. You need to keep secrets unless it is necessary to reveal them for the administration of justice. Do not gossip. Be as trustworthy as possible. Okay? By keeping secrets, this would suggest that you are a trustworthy person. Number four, you are to criticize or argue tactfully. What does it mean? As much as possible, avoid criticizing people. But if it becomes necessary to criticize or argue, do it very tactfully. People admit they are wrong if their mistake or wrong ideas are pointed out with valid reason. This should be done politely, sincerely, and courteously. Okay, avoid sarcastic remarks. Number five, admit your mistakes. Admit your mistakes if you find out you are really wrong. Be willing to subordinate your ideas to much more superior ideas of others. Say, I'm sorry if you make a mistake. Number six, recognize merits of others' opinions. If you disagree, say, I beg to disagree, and then state your disagreement as courteously and as politely as possible. We should maintain, or we should act courteously and politely at all times to maintain good human relations. Number seven, be grateful always. Say thank you for every favor you receive, no matter how small the favor is. Big or small, favor is still a favor. Number 8 is give credit to whom credit is due. Okay? So avoid credit grabbing, because credit grabbing is considered unethical. To maintain good human relation, we should avoid credit grabbing. This would suggest that you does not possess the ability to make an idea or to make your own, or you merely rely on grabbing ideas of others. That's it. So number 9, we have be honest. Cheating gets its return sooner or later. So might as well do not steal either. Okay, number 10, maintain a moderate level of humility. Do not boast nor show off. Boasting and showing off are usually disliked by people. Number 10 or number 11, be kind, generous, and helpful. Help all people you can, in all places you can, and at all times you can. Be friendly. Okay, number 12, be friendly. Do not bully. You make friends if you are friendly, and enemies if you are bully. Number 13, be dependable, responsible, and keep your promises. People hate those who are irresponsible and do not keep their promises. Number 14, be punctual. Okay? We Filipinos, we are considered one of the most violator of this suggestion, or should I say rules. Be punctual. That is why we have our coined or our own coined term, the Filipino time. So let us try to eradicate this so-called Filipino time, because there's no positive impact of it. So be punctual. So keep dates and appointments on or before time. So much better if you can keep your appointments uh, earlier than the scheduled time. Okay, number 15 is be resourceful, hardworking, and be frugal. Be resourceful, hardworking, and frugal. Okay, people treat with indifference those who are lazy and spendthrift. Okay, often if you keep on spending too much, if you're an impulsive spender, people tend to look at you as if you are showing off or boasting, which they hate most also. Number 16, be cooperative in group undertakings. Okay? People usually hate others who are not cooperative in group undertakings. That is why it is called group or group activities or group tasks. This means that you are likely to help or to contribute with the efforts, not just only financially, but the most important is your effort in group undertakings. Number 17 is be firm with your reasoned convictions. People usually admire those who are firm in their reasoned convictions. Number 18 is shun vices. Avoid evil vices such as drug addiction, drunkenness, and excessive gambling. People engage in these vices usually make trouble without any valid reason. Remember that we are discussing here the techniques or strategies to maintain good human relations. So if you are jam-packed or you are equipped, you are addicted to these evil vices, this would simply suggest that you are likely to have relationship with the people of your own or the people with the same kind of vices you have. So that is why we have this term that birds with same feathers flock together, ano. So people with evil vices, of course, will tend to be in the same group to those who have the same. Number 19 is respect the convictions, beliefs, and practices of others. So we need to respect the conviction, beliefs, and practices of others, because by this, especially to those with religious convictions, we should not cast a person upon such convictions, belief, and practices. In a friendly exchange of ideas, however, you can point out the validity of your beliefs and falsity of the other fellow's belief, but without being offensive. Number 20 is we should maintain a decent and socially approved love life. So avoid being involved in an extramarital relations, which often lead to serious family problems and broken homes or even death. Number 21, be a good and law-abiding citizen. So violators of law are usually disliked by people also. Or else, they are disliked and fear These are fearsome people. Okay? So, let us now move on with leadership. According to Lardizabal, a leader is a person who influences a group to follow the course of action he advocates. Hence, leadership is the act of influencing a group to follow a certain course of action. So that was according to Lardizabal. According to Kagan and Hevman, leadership traits consist of persistence, dependability, self-confidence, popularity, good speech, and participation in activities of a group. Okay, that is according to Kagan and Hevman. And according to Rutsch, a person with leadership qualities is number one, physically healthy. Number two, greatly energized. So greatly energized, he possesses a great level of enthusiasm. Easily predictable, easily to follow, not complicated. Number four, aloof from masses. Number five, do not far above the crowd. Number six, knowledgeable on human motives. Number seven, consistent in unifying his followers. The most important is number seven. Though these are important qualities of leadership, I considered consistent in unifying his followers is one of the impactful qualities of being a leader. So, according to Morgan, a leader must actively participate in group. He must be dependable, persistent, verbally facile, self-confident, and socially popular. The definition of Morgan to leadership is very much simple yet impactful. Okay, leader must actively participate in group. He should not just be giving orders. He should be actively participating. Okay. In addition to the qualities of leaders mentioned above, some Filipino leaders advocate that the following should be among the qualities of a leader. Okay, L. Okay, so a leader should have a high mental ability, honesty, credibility, experience, firmness in his convictions, righteousness, self-sacrifice, knowledgeability, willingness to take risk, and vision, with good human relations and with technical skill. So, leadership foundation as defined by leadership. So, leadership, we have L for leadership is loyalty to God, country, and people. E is for enthusiasm, energy to help others. A is for action, accomplishment, and achievement. D stands for the dedication, discipline, dignity, dependability, devotion to duty, daring determination, decisiveness for the general welfare. And E, it is for excellence, exemplary work for others to follow and emulate. R for reliability, responsibility, respect for the law and rights of others, reconciliation for peace and unity, fairness in rewarding. S is for sincerity, service, self-sacrifice, social justice to make life better for mankind, self-confidence, and oral proficiency. H is for humility, honesty, honor, helpfulness, and hard work. I in leadership is integrity, interest, initiative, and idealism. P in leadership is patience, perseverance, beyond partisanship, religion or creed, love for peace, progress, prosperity for mankind, and predictability. So that is leadership as defined by the word leadership. So let us now proceed with the theories about emergence of leaders. So, what brought about these leaders and leaders to be? Okay. Number one is the situational theory. Situational theory suggests the qualities of a person are those needed to deal with the situation, and so he is selected as a leader. So as the situation arises, there's one person who suits or who has the ability to deal with this kind of situation. That is why he is being selected as a leader. Number two, we have personal behavior theory. So, as a person behaves according to the demands of the situation, and so he is selected to lead. Okay? Based on the personal behavior he possesses, and it is demanded by the situation or the society he belongs to, then he was selected as the leader. He was selected to lead. Number three, supportive or participatory theory. What this it implies? A prospective leader supports or helps his prospective followers, supporting the latter in his quest for leadership. Okay? Because of this supportive or participatory activity, he was selected. Okay? Because of his ability to support and to participate in any course of action a group undertakes. Okay, number four, sociological theory. Sociological theory is wherein an individual facilitates the activities of the members of the group and resolves their conflicts, and because he is a good facilitator, he is selected as the leader of the group. Meaning to say, he has been selected because of the sociological capacity he possesses. The capacity he has, the capacity to resolve conflicts, the capacity to be a good facilitator, then this gives him a good candidate to be a leader. Number five is psychological theory. Okay, psychologically speaking, this psychological theory who motivates the members of a group to engage in activities that would satisfy their personal needs is selected as a leader. So this is true with labor leaders. Okay, number six, autocratic theory. Okay, autocratic theory, an individual uses coercion and duress to attain his leadership status. He imposes force, coercion, conflict in order for him to attain the leadership status or position he wants to. Number seven, supernatural powers theory. Okay, from the word itself, we are already familiar with this, supernatural powers. Someone has been selected because maybe he have this called talisman or agimat or magic power that enables him to attain leadership. Number eight is inheritance theory. Okay, for example, when a king or emperor dies, his heir, usually a son, inherits the throne of his father. Usually, this was imposed during uh, uh, previous time pa, or even those who has this kind of government, you know. Number 9 is the accident theory. When an elected president dies or resigns, his vice president takes over the position. Number 10 is the prestige theory. Usually, the most prestigious member of the group is selected as the leader of the group. Okay, this theory enables someone to lead based on the prestige, or based on, should I say, the social economic status he has. The more money he has, the more he tends to lead the group, or the more wealth he has, the more chances he could, or he will lead the group. Number 11 is the personality traits theory. Okay, this personality traits theory is when a person has good traits such as high mental ability, integrity and honesty, willingness to serve, and high education attainment, good character, etc., then he has a better chance to be selected as the leader. Okay, so let us now move on with the kinds, or the kinds of leaders we have. So number 1, according to status. Okay, first according to, okay, so according to status. So these are the types of leader according to stat. First is according to status. Formal leader. So what are these leaders? Okay, a formal leader is the one who officially occupies a position of leadership such as president, vice president, king, queen, etc. So these are formal leaders. Next is the informal or contributing leader. Okay, one who has no official position but provides or contributes bright ideas for the group. So very much explanatory naman, ano? So someone who contributes to the betterment of the groups, then this is a kind of leader nga that we call contributing leader, or informal leader. If we are going to cite examples, this may be called as the supporting actor. Okay? Then next is to according to the managerial grid. Okay, first is the autocrat, or the autocratic leader. One with a very high regard for work but little regard or care for workers. Okay? Letter B is missionary. One with highest concern to people. So very much autocratic and missionary contradict with each other. So they are far more different from one another. So choose from them what you are according to their managerial grid. Letter C is the compromiser. The compromiser, one with equal concern for work and people. So compromiser is both. D is the deserter. Deserter is the one with very little concern for service and people. Letter E is the executive, one with the highest regard for service or work, as well as workers or people. So these are the types of leaders according to managerial grid. Next is according to manner of participation. So there is also autocratic in the kind of leader, or types of leader according to manner of participation. The autocratic, so there is practically no participation of the group in decision making. And in the autocratic manner of participation, it is only the leader who makes the decision. So no participation of a group in decision making. So letter B is participatory. Okay, from the word itself, participatory, this means that the group is involved in decision making. Everybody is involved in the decision making. Everyone in the group. Then free reign. The leader depends upon the group for decision making. So, autocratic is the opposite of free reign. Whereas in the autocratic, the leader only the leader decides. Only the leader is in charge of the decision making, while on the free reign, only the members or the leader relies on the groups or the members of the groups. Okay, so let us now move on to according to the democratic practices. Okay, types of leader according to the democratic practices. First is the authoritarian. So by this, the decision making is in the hands of one man. Okay, that's why I said earlier when it is about authoritarian, autocratic, the decision making is in the hands of one man. Should I say the leader only decides or is in charge of the decision making? Whereas in the democratic practices of leadership type, the decision making is in the hands of the group. Okay? So the group itself is self-governing. Okay? Let us now move on with the functions and roles of a leader in an organization. What are the rules of or the functions of a leader? Okay, the leader must, number one, is establish well-defined patterns of organization, channels of communications, and ways of getting jobs done. Number two, serves as spokesman and representative of the group. Number three, helps the group determine procedures in decision making, in carrying out plans. Number four, initiate plans. Number five, a leader should settle conflict, difficulties in the group, and help establish a social climate. And number six, the leader must clarifies the duties and helps the group organize itself. The leader, number seven, serves as the guidance counselor. Number eight, the leader maintain membership, cohesiveness, cooperation, and develop the feeling that to stay is pleasant. Number nine, the leader should work for the attainment of goals and objectives. The leader delegated responsibility and authority to maximize participation and performance. So that is the role and functions of a leader in an organization. So now how are a leader deals with his subordinate? Okay, first, he need to be a supporter and a friend, especially for promotion. Okay? Number two, he needs to be a provider of necessary information and facilities. Number three, a trainer. A leader should help the group learn from experience or otherwise learn from other trainings. Number four, a leader should be a counselor. He should counsel subordinates with problems. With it work related, with it personal, where it family, then depends on the level of support you would give, then you should counsel your subordinate which is encountering problem. Okay, number five is the leader should practices democratic ways with subordinates. Number six, he should maximize subordinates' ideas and participation. He should not grab ideas as his own, but should give credit, of course, to whom it is due. Okay? Let us now Move on with the methods a leader may use in influencing the group in decision making. So what are these methods? Number one, methods of a leader may use in influencing the group in decision making are as follows. We have five: telling, selling, testing, consulting, and joining. So telling, to start with, we have telling. The leader identifies the problem, considers alternative solutions, select one, and inform the group of his decision. The leader makes the decision without consulting the group. Selling. The leader makes the decision and convinces the group to accept the decision by citing its advantages. What are their uses? Why the group must do the decision he has to. Okay? Then testing. Testing is when the leader presents the problem and necessary information. Then the members of the group, including himself, gives proposal to solve the problem. Then they test the proposals to see which is best and most relevant. So from the word itself, testing. The leader present the problem, then each member of the group will present a solution. Then they should test which solution works well, works best. Okay? Then consulting. Number 4, consulting. The leader presents a problem with background information. Then he asks the member to give ideas and alternative solution. So somehow testing and consulting has something to do with one another. They share common ideas with testing and consulting. And then they select the best proposal according to their own judgment. So number 5 is joining. The leader joins and participates in the discussion and agrees to abide by whatever decision the group makes. Okay, from the word itself, joining, the leader joins with the group when it comes to the decision making and agrees to abide whatever decision the group makes. Okay, so those are the methods of a leader may use in influencing the group in decision making. So let us now move on with the problem solving process a leader may use. Okay? So the problem solving process a leader may use is first is to identify, state, and defines or clarify the problem. Okay, the project itself. Number 2, if the problem or project is complicated, it may be divided into sub-problems. Then committees are assigned to gather facts about each problem. Okay, number 3, in plenary session, all available facts should be utilized in discussing all the ramifications of the problem or the project. Number 4, the idea getting process. Okay, this comes the idea getting process. Okay, the members are enjoined to give, propose, or alternative solution to problem or project. The number 5, the idea evaluation process, which follows the idea getting process. Okay, the advantages or disadvantages of each proposed or alternative solution are presented. So this alternative solution that you have presented, these are going to be evaluated by the group. Okay. Number 6 is the choice of final proposed or alternative solution is achieved by voting or other means. Okay, by tossing a coin, by picking matchsticks, by drawing cards, okay, or by rolling a dice, okay, and many other more. Then the last phase is the implementation. Of course, the implementation of the plan, the proposal, and the final or proposed or alternative solution. Okay, we are going now to implement. So that's it. We will now proceed to salesmanship. Of course, being a leader suggests or means being a salesman. Okay, that's why Leadership means salesmanship, okay? But it does not involve selling material goods or personal profit. What he sells are ideas or sometimes material goods to answer the needs of the group. He sells ideas in the sense that he uses his persuasive powers to convince his group to adopt his ideas for the good of the group. Next is following are some suggestion for an effective selling technique. So of course, S is for to sell an important idea. So be sure the idea benefits those it is intended for. An instant is the setting of a cooperative. A is for advertise the idea. Inform all people involved. L is for let the people learn all the essential aspect of the idea. Letter E is be enthusiastic and eloquent. Okay? Enthusiasm begets enthusiasm as respect begets respect. Then S is select points that appeals most to the people. Is it credit cooperative? It is multi-purpose cooperative? Is it farming cooperative? Okay? Which you are going to select which is more appealing to people. Then M, let one move for the adoption or approval of the idea. This is decision making, the voting. A is for apply. Okay, you are going to apply the idea if it is approved. This is implementation. Next is N. N, if the idea is not approved, the extreme necessity of its adoption must be pointed out empathically. We are going to sort out the importance of the adoption. So we are going to point out why is it necessary. S is for being sincere. If the people see the sincerity of the leader in pushing through the ideas, they may relent. H is for hear the people talk about objections. The objections may be overcome by an impassioned appeal. I is for interest of the people. Okay? Motivate them and use all kinds of motivation. Next is P. P is for persistent. Be persistent in pushing through ideas. Okay? Do not give up easily. A leader should be persistent in terms of salesmanship. If the session is to be closed, do not slam the door. Shut for good. A no means not now. Okay? No means not now. Instead, give the people enough time to think and study the idea further and make a hint that the issue may be reopened in some opportune time in the future. Okay, that's why I said earlier, no means not now. Okay? Next, we are going to proceed with the general functions of a leader. Okay? A leader should know the following. Okay, we have 6. The planning, organizing, staffing, directing, coordinating, and budgeting. So to start with, we have planning. A general function of a leader is to plan. That is why in DepEd we have the 4 P's. Okay? Proper planning prevents poor performance. Okay? So, a leader should make plans for the activities of the organization. Okay? Next is the leader should be organizing, putting up structures of the organization, delegating. Number 3, staffing, assigning personnel to the different position based on the capacity and their ability to finish the task they have given. Number 4, directing, Directing by means of guiding the activities of the organization. He should be hands-on in providing instructions, in providing technical assistance. Next is coordinating. A leader should be systematically involved in activities of the group. He should be 100% in when it comes to coordinating with the focal person or with the person in charge in order for the task to be done in a smooth manner, in an organized manner. Next is, of course, the budgeting. A leader should know when and how to estimate the income and expenses of the organization. He should manage his finances apart from their personal finances and the income and expenses of the organization. So, okay, that ends my presentation, and I would like to say thank you for listening, and to my classmate, to our professor. If you have questions, don't hesitate to note it down. And once again, thank you for listening and have a pleasant day ahead of us. Thank you.